All right, hello, this is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College. Today is Monday, the 14th of September. We had problems during our class period today. I had problems with the sound for Camtasia, so I'm re-recording what I went over with the class right now at my home. So, as we get started, I'm going to basically go over with you what I told the people to do this morning, and that is get into the virtual desktop. You might as well get used to using it. And one thing I mentioned to them, and I'll say it again to you right now, that if you look out here, let's see. Okay, so these are the courses that you take in the program. This semester, if you're a full-time student, you're in the Introduction to Programming with JavaScript, the Website Development, XHTML, CSS, and the Relational Database Design. For none of those classes, is it mandatory that you use the virtual desktop. However, next semester, if you're a full-time student, you'll be taking 152-142, Intro to .NET Programming, which is a C# class, 152-143, which is an Intro to Java Programming class, 152-147, which is Relational Database Development, and 152-167, Ajax and JavaScript Website Development. For three of those four classes, these three, you must use the virtual desktop. So let's just get used to using it now. So I asked people to get into the virtual desktop. And I didn't ask you to do this in class, but I'm just going to come in and create a folder in here. And I'm going to call it, whoops, I don't want to do that. I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to just call it HW1 for Homework 1. Okay, so that's where I'm going to put my homework as we get into it. Then I asked people to go into Computer. If you don't have an icon that says Computer, you can click Start and choose Computer. And then over on your P drive, so double click where it says P:, and then go down and double click where it says CIS, and then go down and double click where it says 152.119 L2P, then double click on the Fall 2015, and double click on the in-class folder. And you'll notice there's a folder there with today's date on it. I'm going to open that folder. I'm going to grab this coin flip file. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard, and I'm going to paste it right into my Homework 1 folder. All right, so now I've got to start. There's not much in here. There's a comment that explains what we're supposed to be doing for the particular problem, and there's the beginning of a main function. So again, we're supposed to create a JavaScript program that simulates a coin flip. All right, we'll use a random number, 0 meaning heads and 1 meaning tails. All right, if you want more information on random numbers, you can go to that right there. All right, so we'll ask the user how many times she or he wants to flip their coin, and we'll put this whole thing in a loop. We'll keep track of the total number of heads they have and the total number of tails they have. We'll print that information at the end of the loop, and we'll put the entire program into a loop so we can repeat this over again as many times as we'd like. So, first thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to declare our program constants. And I'm going to call one min flips, and I'm going to set that equal to 1. And I'm going to have another one that's going to be called max flips, and I'm going to set that one equal to 1 million. I'm a little anal here about lining this stuff up just because I'm trying to make it easier for you to see what's going with what. All right. So this will be the minimum number of coin flips, and the other one will be the maximum number of coin flips. So we're going to ask the user how many times they'd like to flip the coin, and the minimum number they're going to be able to use is 1, and the maximum number they're going to be able to use is 1 million. All right, so now we're going to come in here. Now that we've declared our program constants, we're going to come in and declare our program variables. And not only are we going to declare them, we're going to declare and initialize them. In other words, we're going to give them an initial or beginning value. Let me hit enter a few times down here. You don't have to do this, but I just want to move main back up to the top of the program here. Okay, so I'm going to have 7 of these variables. I'm going to declare a variable called random, which is going to hold a random number between 1 and 10. I don't want that to say 1,000,000. I'm going to have the coin value, and that's going to be 0 for tails and 1 for heads. You could do it the other way if you'd prefer. It doesn't really matter. These will be my total number of heads. Remember, we're simulating a coin flip here. So these will be the total number of simulated heads. And I'm just going to grab that variable right here and have a num tails. And that's going to be the total number of simulated tails coin flips. All right. I also have a variable that's called again that I'm going to set equal to a single space. So single quote space, single quote. And that's going to be my program continue variable. Repeat variable, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to have another variable that I'm going to call first char. And that's going to be the first character of whatever I put in there for again. And then I'm going to set that to y for yes. So that's the first character in variable again. All right, remember the first thing we were told in here, well, the last thing I guess, put the entire program in a loop so that we can repeat it. So we're going to do that first. So I'm going to say while first char, while it's equal to yes. All right, in other words, we're going to ask the user at the end of the program run, do you want to run the program again? And if they say yes or a Y or something like that, it's going to be yes. All right. So, next thing I want to do here is prompt for number of simulated coin flips. And remember, that has to be between 1 and 1,000,000. So we're going to say num flips equals parse int, because it's a whole number, and we're going to prompt, and we're going to say how many coin flips for you. Okay? And we'll default it to 1,000. We don't have to default it. And if we wanted to, we could default it to anything we wanted to. But I'm going to default it to 1,000. Then I'm going to say while. Remember, it's possible that we'll put in here a non-numeric value for num flips. I'm going to show you that when I run this for you in just a bit. So while it's non-numeric, or the number of flips is less than min flips. So if we put in a number 0 or less, or num flips is greater than max flips, that means we put in a number that's greater than 1 million. So if that's the case, if we've done any of that, well, we screwed up. So we can handle that in a bunch of different ways. I could give an error message and try doing a bunch of other stuff. I just decided to keep it real simple, so I'm going to grab that code right there and repeat it. So I'm asking you to do it again. So while you put in something non-numeric, or less than 1, or greater than a million, I'll ask you to do it again. So by the time you get to this line right here, right there, I know I put in a number and the number is within range. So now I want to flip it that many times, num flips times. Again, I'm just simulating flipping a coin. You may or may not remember me saying this in class, but sometimes what I tend to do is for my loop control variable, I just call it what it is, LCV, loop control variable. So I'm going to generate a random number, and this random number is going to be between 1 and 10. All right? So think about what I just said, all right? Because what I just said was I'm going to get one of these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So that's one of those numbers. It'll be one of those numbers. So in other words, this is going to be random. Then I want to take that number and I want to modulo it, which means divide and show me the remainder. So divide it by 2. Well, this is going to be a 1. This is going to be, come on, a 0, and we can just keep repeating this. That's a 1, that's a 1, that's a 1, and that's a 1. And in English, if I've lost anybody here, what we're saying is if you divide a whole, an even number by 2, the answer is 0. There's no remainder. And if you divide an odd number by 2, there's always going to be a remainder of 1. So these are our possibilities right here. So if we return anything, you know, and maybe I did it backwards, I don't even know, but you get the idea. So I'm going to set coin value equal to that random number that we just got back, modulo 2. And then we have to check. And basically we want to say, oh, that's still, we're still inside of the loop here. If that coin value that we just got is equal to 0, well, we've determined that that's a tails. So we're going to say num tails plus plus. Remember, that's a shortcut. We could say num tails plus plus, or we could say plus plus num tails, or we could say num tails plus equal 1, or we could say num tails equals num tails plus 1. So all of these things, this one right here, that's the same as this one, and as that one, and as that one. So there's a lot of different ways we can do this. Well, if it's not a tail, then it's a head. So else num heads plus plus, heads plus plus. Okay? Now we're going to fall out of the loop and we're going to do an alert statement here where we're going to print our totals. Alert. Total number of flips, coin flips, whatever you want to say, plus num flips plus, and this will put a line break in between each one of these, plus total number of, doesn't matter which we do first, we can do tails first or we can do heads first. And that'll print out our totals. Now we have to basically come in there and ask the user if they want to run the program again. So I'm going to say again equal, we're going to prompt run program again, and we'll tell them to enter either a yes or enter a no. Well, we can tell them that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the person's actually going to put in. And we all know that. They might put in a Y or an N or something else. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that first character, which is what we want to grab from again. So first char is equal to, again, dot char at 0, which means give me the first character, and then convert it to uppercase. Now we can ask and say if that first character, if it's not equal to a Y, that means they didn't type yes. So we'll just return. In other words, we're done. All right. And now I'll just say I have to reset my counter. So num heads equals 0 and num tails equals 0. Get rid of that thing there. There. And that's the whole program. All right. But I have to tell the system that I want to run the program, so I need to call main. All right. So I'm going to grab all that program, and I'm going to come in and try to run it, and we'll see we're going to run it in a couple different things. First, let's go into jsbin.com. All right, we'll close everything except JavaScript. We'll move this way over as far as we can. We'll paste in our program. Oops. Didn't like that, though. Try that again. Copy. Paste. There's our program. And let's try to run it and see what happens. Not a thing. Well, that isn't good. We got 2 warnings, and that says that the word const may or may not be supported in what we're using. So if we're using an older browser, we're going to have to change these const, which means constant non-changing value. All right? We're going to have to change it back to a var. So if I put a var right there, these 2 warnings would go away. But that's not what the problem is. I want to see if I can figure out what the problem is. All right, min flips, max flips, num flips. Well, that doesn't help much because I spelled that wrong. Let's see if that does anything. All right, how many coin flips for you? 1,000. So there were 509 tails and 491 heads. Run the program again. Well, I should have put a Y in there, but that's fine. Yes. And it didn't like that. And that's just because of a weird... it's because of the weird way that JSBin works, and I'll fix that in just a second. So let's see, yes or no, and we'll default that to yes. There. All right. If we don't want to quit, then we have to call main again from here. So I will say else and we'll come down and grab these 2 lines. We'll paste them in. And we'll call main. Now now it should be done. So let's check it out. 1,000. Okay. Run it again. Yes. 1,000. Run it again. Now notice if I just put a Y in there, since it's only checking that first character, it runs it again. What if I put in a number that's less than 1, 0? It doesn't take it. It says how many coin flips. What if I put in a number that's more than 1,000,000? All right, it did it for some reason. So there's a problem with my code. So let's see if we can figure out what that problem is. All right, max flips, and it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. So if it's less than min flips or it's greater than max flips, that's correct. But for some reason it doesn't like my check in there. It should be finding that. It's finding this one, but it's not finding this one. Max flips. Min flips. Max flips. For some reason it doesn't like what I'm trying to do in there. All right. But I am going to grab all this, copy it to the clipboard, and try to run this in the JavaScript runner. All right. So we'll come in there and we'll do that. Now we don't, well, I don't know if we have to call main from here or not, but let's just try it. So we'll run. How many coin flips? 1,000. Looks good. Do it again. Yes. 1,000. Do it again. Yes. 300. Yes, 300 instead of 1,000. That looks good. Run it again. No. And now it doesn't like that. There's some weird quirky things in here. So what I want to do is, I actually want this to stop, but it's going to be a pain to get that to stop. I have to do it like this. Do it from in here. And oh, great. Start Task Manager. That JavaScript runner, I want to end that. Okay? All right. So let's go back into JavaScript runner. I won't have that else statement like I had before. Paste it in. Run it. Error, first char is not defined. Well, okay, then let's find it. First char, oh, I spelled that wrong here. Run it now. 1,000, there it is. Run it again. I got to add that Y back. Run it again. Yes, sirree, Bob. Run it again. Let's put 0 in. All right, didn't like that. All right, so got some errors in the code here, some of which have been fixed. So that now says first char, so that's spelled right. All right, I'm going to stop right now, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I would consider the better way of running this program. So I'll be right back with that.